Hello and welcome to the Quever channel. I'm Jason, your host, and I want to talk about the coming cuts by the government. Now the problem is, at the moment, we don't know. We don't know until probably the end of this week or something. We're going to get a statement of what the cuts are going to be and how bad it's going to be for disabled people. Why are disabled people so panicking? And they are panicking. And a lot of it is due to the media. The clickbait titles, you're going to lose this and all this. We don't know. But the panic isn't without foundation. Disabled people have always been a target for cuts. It's easy to turn the public narrative against disabled people. Look at me. I've got an arcade machine behind me. I get to stay at home. I don't have to work. Unless you know someone who's disabled and their struggles, it's very easy for the public narrative and the political narrative to be turned against us. And the simple fact is that most disabled people are so tired, so worn out by just getting out of bed and trying to remember to use the bathroom, that they don't have the energy to fight back. This has been an ongoing tactic by the Department of Work and Pensions. Often, when you go through a review, they will drop your money slightly. They will tell you in the letter that we're going to give you this much, but if you fight it, there's no guarantee you'll get this much. So if you go to appeal and it fails, you could lose everything. That's how they word it. And you've got to go through the effort of an appeal. Most appeals are upheld and people get the amount of money they were meant to, but that's how the DWP work. They know you're tired. They know you're worn out. They know you're scared of losing your benefits. So the government can very easily start to target us. People who don't know anybody who's disabled don't know how much it costs to live as a disabled person. How you can go out and pick up a loaf of bread. We have to order in a £60 shop because we can't leave the house. There's a big difference there. Sometimes you might have someone who needs heating on or cooling on all through the year to keep the house in a certain temperature. There'll be added costs like, for example, the charging of my Quingo, my mobility scooter outside. That has to happen all the time. That's an extra energy cost to me. All the coping strategies, that special foods and so on. So it is easy to see, unfortunately, from the outside, how this thing, and the narrative at the moment is fraud in benefits is so massively bad. The simple fact is that tax avoidance and tax fraud accounts for a far bigger loss to the government. But you don't see them going after the rich people. Now, I won't go into the argument about whether taxing the rich is a bad idea, because then they move their money out of the country and blah, 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 and all these kind of things. And if you tax the rich people, they can't invest into companies and stuff like that. It's a mess. It's a very, very, very grey area. You can't just say one is wrong and wrong is right. So we're trying to keep this level playing field. So let's talk about the basics. In the financial year ending 2024, the UK government reported that 3.7% of total benefit expenditure was overpaid or due to fraud and error. Now, understand something. Fraud accounted for only 2.8%. 2.8% of that amount. The rest was overpayments or errors. As in errors that the benefit system themselves made in sending more than they should have. Not fraudulent, not caused by the actual people receiving the benefits. So that's the first part. So remember that. That is 2.8% was fraud. Compare that to the avoidance of taxes, which they haven't give out the accurate numbers for that, unfortunately, so we can't compare them apples to apples. But that's a bit of an eye-opener when the government is saying so much has been spent on this. Now, something that a lot of disabled people won't like me to talk about is this. That the UK does have a massive, massive welfare expenditure bill. And the Labour government are right to be trying to sort it out. Let me put this in perspective for you, and you won't hear this said by any other disabled person really, or anybody banging their drums about how horrible the government is. The total expenditure of 2023-2024 was approximately $1,189 billion. And of that expenditure, welfare accounted for $341 billion. Now, before that shocks you too much, you have to understand that $124 billion of that is the state pension and things like that for everybody here. $83 billion was the universal credit and related payments that go to people who are working in very low paid jobs and such, so they can get a credit and all that kind of thing. No. Disability benefits only account for $35 billion of that only less than just about 11% of the total welfare bill. And fraudulent payments only account for 2.9% of that total amount. Now, the government is right that we need to get young people into work. That a certain virus caused a massive amount of mental health problems and overworked the entire system. For example, during a certain virus, nearly all of the help that was given to people was charity-based. And those charities were pretty much, and have been, completely defunded by the government and everyone. What a lot of people won't know is when you're diagnosed with something like bipolar or ADHD, the leaflets that they give you are mostly to do with charities that you can contact. So they have inherited a really bad situation from the Tory government, who had been defunding the NHS for years. People do need to be got back into work, who can function. They need support, they need help to those people, yes, get them back into work if you can. As long as there's jobs for them. This is the thing, as long as there's jobs for them, because there isn't that many jobs to go around. And let's be practical here. Even if there is rules in place, a business is going to much prefer to hire a able-bodied person than a disabled person. It's just a fact. I'm sorry, it's a fact. They will want to hire them. I'm sorry. But the thing is this. For those that can't work, personal independence payment and their benefits are their lifeline. I am at my best when I'm talking to you on here. But let's not mistake, I live in a world of thousands of coping strategies that keep me from spiraling and going into a bad place. The fact that I can only leave the house on a mobility scooter because that's my mobile safe space. That I can't step 2 feet away from that mobility scooter or I can go catatonic and become non-functioning. That before I had the mobility scooter, I hadn't left the house except for CT scans and hospital journeys more than, say, 12 times in almost 5 years. That only now with the mobility scooter can I go out to a shop, somewhere like Tesco, and pick up items for myself. Whereas before, I had to wait and budget and plan because the cost of having delivered stuff is so much more. Let's not forget that when I wake up in the morning, I have to try to remember to use the bathroom so I don't become constipated, because I can become so constipated I'd have to go into hospital if I forget to use the bathroom. So, people who truly can't work deserve the support. And this is where the worry is, that they're thinking of bringing in things like, we've got this idea of bringing in vouchers and that. At the moment, PIP is given you as an amount of money per month, and the definition is a personal independence payment. It's the payment that's given to disabled people to help them deal with the extra costs that are unique to them. Some people, it will go on nurses to come visit them and help them to shower. Others, it will go on special auditory systems for their house, or wheelchairs, or any number of things. It can be anything. Colouring books, coping strategies, any kind of coping strategy. As they said to me, and even as a member of the government told me, that my PIP is not to be counted against how much money I come in. The PIP is there so that you can get yourself items that will allow you to live, not just survive. Extra food, special food, cost of transport, and even that arcade machine behind there, because it's part of my coping strategy, and my VR and all my technology and all that comes into it. Every disabled person is unique. What allows those people to be independent is unique. So this is where all the worry and concern comes. We just don't know. And not knowing is terrifying. Not knowing whether or not our PIP system will be turned into a voucher system. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine me having to ring up, talk to a stranger, and get them to okay how would it even work, a voucher for me to spend on a Steam game, because playing a Steam game helps me cope with my panic and stress? Can you imagine that working out? Can you imagine every time my electricity bill comes in, or something called this extra electricity cost, I have to ring up for a voucher? Imagine the stress and panic that it's going to layer on top of disabled people to have to go through that system. People think it's easy to get on PIP. It isn't. Most are denied. Most have to go to appeal before they go on there. It's not as bad as Americans' disabled system, but it is really bad. So yeah, I wanted this to be a more balanced approach to what's going on. We don't know until they say what they're going to do exactly. The benefit system, the welfare system, does need to change. But there is other focuses they could have. And the NHS needs to be funded massively to repair, even to repair, just repair, not improve, but just repair the damage done by the last governments of defunding. When I was looking after Paola, I saw the defunding and how bad it got over time. I remember when Paola first got ill, it was easy in the 90s and the early noughties to actually have a good reason to go into hospital and to go straight in there and for there to be beds. Every ward kept golden beds, kept beds free, ready to take emergencies, ready to take people in. Most wards in the NHS are now running at something like 150% of capacity. People are in the waiting 10, 12 hours. And this is the important people. I mean, think about when Paola went in for a bone biopsy and she had been on chemo and her basically immune system was at 0, she had to wait for 7 hours in an actual weight room. 7 hours she had to wait in a weight room before there was a bed available. In a weight room with other people. So the funding needs to be changed and things have got to be. But focusing so much on disabled people is it's like kicking a puppy. It's not a good thing. So this is Jason for the Weber channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I shall too.